And there is Gideon Cresswell. This was just a couple of moments ago. The cars have already made their way round to the grid and in fact are forming up in their positions from qualifying. There you see them in fact. Rob Lofting on pole position in the number 5 Specsavers car. Rob, no stranger to FPA, has done a couple of races here in the winter run very strongly indeed. So can he capitalise on that pole position? Well, we'll find out in just a few moments. Richard Meaden lines up alongside him, although it's a staggered grid here. And Gino Ussi, well, no stranger here. And Gino, the Italian driver, will also look to get a good start. We're about to get that start, and away they go. Oh, left on the grid is Ben Lewis. Ben Lewis didn't get away. Somebody else left back there. Gino Ussi tries to come between Richard Meaden and Rob Lofting. Lofting bogged down as he got off the start line. A cracking start from Gino Ussi, but it's Richard Meaden who leads them up the hill for the first time. Sensational start then from Meaden. Gino Ussi, well, a lot of experience. We expected him to get away well. Didn't quite make it through into the lead, but certainly got a cracking start. And now Gideon Cresswell there in third place, having a real battle with Steve Warburton behind him. And Warburton wants to try and take that place away, I think. They all stream on through, also making good progress there. Steve Young's picked up a couple of spots as well. And further back, looks to me as though crawling all over the back of Chris Hyman was Howard Spooner. So Hyman, who's another one who's got some considerable FPA experience in the Winter Series. Saw him run well here. Darren Anley's another who's out, who we've seen run very well in the FPA Winter Series previously. Remember this, the 4th year of FPA. It's had some sensational outings. European FPA, of course, Justin Wilson from the inaugural year has gone on to compete in Formula 3000, indeed lead that championship, and this is really giving these drivers a feel for what it's about to drive. Really well prepared, very competitive, 250 brake horsepower Audi engines car. Leaders, up the hill they come towards Druids, drop it down through the gearbox. Have they, I wonder, saved any of those boost button opportunities that they're down, as again they get more and more into the groove, and this is hotting up to be a great scrap between the lead two. Ahead of that man there, Gideon Cresswell, they fly through the air into Stirlings, and Gino Ussi really is keeping very smooth lines indeed. Across the line they go, reeling off another lap. Gideon Cresswell still there in third place. In fourth place in the light car is the 36 car of Steve Warburton, and then a gap back to fifth where we find Steve Young and Rob Lofting still hanging on to that 6th place. Well, Gideon Cresswell and Steve Warburton, if they could work together, might just find themselves able to reel in that leading trio. At the moment, though, the gap's pretty much stabilised. Steve Young, but here is again Gino Ussi, looks to the inside, and Richard Meaden says, oh, I'm covering that line. If you want to get through there, you're going to have to try much harder than that down to Graham Hill Bend. And Gino is definitely later on the brakes, isn't he? Of course, it's the age-old saying of it's always one thing to catch the car in front, it's completely another thing to get in front, and he goes to the inside. There's contact between the two. Meaden spins. What happened to Gino Ussi? But Richard Meaden's on the grass on the exit of Surtees. He'll recover and point the car back in the right direction, but that's thrown things into complete disarray. Ussi got caught up in that, and that means we've got a change of lead. Your new race leader is, I'm sure, a very pleasantly surprised Gideon Cresswell. My oh my, into Surtees they went. I'm sure we'll get another look at that in a moment. There, here's our race leader then. Gideon Cresswell leads. There in second place is Stephen Warburton, and Steve Warburton starting to reel in Gideon Cresswell. Cresswell must have thought, my oh my, look at this, the opportunity. Now Gino Ussi, I can tell you, has rejoined, but he's going to be absolutely fuming. He gave it everything he had at Surtees, and you have to feel that Richard Meaden was perhaps knocked out of that position. We do like a bit of contention, don't we, here? So David's managed to hold him off, but at the moment, everything going the way very much of Gideon Cresswell, although look at the gap now between first and second place. Steve Warburton out on that lap has really closed things in, so he's obviously got good speed. Gino Ussi continues there in third place. Behind him is Steve Young in fourth. Oh, Natalie Butler spins out. Oh, dear, oh dear. Well, she's frustrated. You can see she slams the steering wheel with her hands. At least that's good news that she's okay, but here they come towards the finish line, and a hand in the air for Gideon Cresswell, who just takes the checkered flag. Oh dear. Steve Warburton there, I'm sure, must have used his boost button. He was catapulted out of Clark Curve, the final corner here on the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit, but how happy is Gideon Cresswell with that? Delighted he is. Everybody else crossing the finish line. Rob Lofting comes through, so too Howard Spooner. Brilliant stuff, and what a great credit to these guys. They've had a fair bit of testing up at the Bedford Autodrome and also, of course, here at Brands Hatch in readiness for this opening round. Oh, and Stuart Pryor, well, I wondered why he hadn't come through, and there's the answer. Off into the gravel trap. And a disconsolate Natalie Butler sits on the sideline. The marshal just chatting with her, making sure she's okay. She looks fine, she's out of the car, that's the good news. Sadly, though, it's a DNF for Natalie. Well, when the drivers got back to the paddock, they joined Jonathan for the presentations.
Gideon Cresswell was our first winner of the 2001 championship. Absolutely fantastic. Gideon, congratulations. And I'd like to ask Barney Cracks, I think from QIS, is going to come here and present Gideon with his garland for his efforts. Well done, Gideon, and the trophy. Round 1 goes to Gideon Cresswell. Steve Warburton takes second place. Steve, fantastic effort. Tremendous, no mistakes there.
Thank you.
Gino Ussi took third place, recovering well, slipping back to fourth, but then got past his own sparring partner in Stephen Young on the very last lap.
Superb performance then from Club FBA round 1. The victory goes to Gideon Cresswell with Steve Warburton and Gino Ussi taking second and third respectively. Well, let's go down and join Susie, who's with the race winner.
Gideon, you must have been over the moon about that.
I was extremely happy, I have to admit, yeah. It was a complete shock really, but hang on in there and got the win, it was great.